Welcome to the latest episode of the Best of Cool Culture Corner. We go back and take a look at the best episodes from the podcast and bring them up to date. We talk about the ideas that were discussed in that episode in the post pandemic environment that we're in now. Hi, I'm Ken Bader, your host for Cool Culture Corner, both the podcast and the Best of Cool Culture Corner, obviously. And I take a look back at episode 59. It just to give you some backstory on the Cool Culture Corner podcast, and also how painful it is at times for me to go back to some of my earlier audio files and early podcasts and also videos. What's funny is I hope that I've gotten better at this over the last 3, 4, 5 years. It's even more interesting, and I use the word interesting very loosely, than going back to read some of my past articles. I can go back 20 years and look at some of the articles I wrote for, say, Credit Union Journal or ABA Marketing Magazine and places like that. And I'm like, all right, you know what? I would make a few tweaks today in terms of style, but I still like what I read. When I go back and watch old videos or listen to old podcasts, I'm like, ah, what was I thinking? But it's interesting that episode 59 and the title of that was The Message for Our Team was one of the highest downloaded episodes of Cool Culture Corner. It was actually the first episode that I put on Anchor. I like using Anchor. I know that people have a lot of different opinions on that podcast platform. I just find it for my purposes to be very straightforward. At the time, I was doing the podcast as kind of a whim, and I think we may have talked a little bit about that in episode one when we talked about the very second podcast that I ever did on Cool Culture Corner. But I did obviously 58 episodes where I just did it as a whim. I wanted to do some recordings and see how that would work out and try this podcasting thing out. Didn't really intend on having a ton of listeners. Wanted to use it as more of a way to drive a little bit of traffic back to my website. I didn't even have a podcast platform. I just recorded episodes and put them on Tumblr, directly on Tumblr, as well as my website, and put them out there in social media for the world to hear my crazy voice. And yeah, obviously there was a little bit of growth from episode 2 to episode 59 in that I think I got a little bit better in terms of getting better ideas out there and getting them out quicker, especially the whole promo thing. Now, what's funny is the episode 59 was the very first episode that I did on Anchor. And that was in the days where I would literally just record it right on my phone, much like I'm doing now, right into the microphone, because you could go right on the app and record your episode right there. And at the time, if I remember it correctly, I think it only allowed for 5 minutes for you to record directly onto the app on your smartphone. So I'm kind of wrapping up episode 59, and it cuts me off. There's no, here's how you can get a hold of me. Here's if you want to hear more information. None of that. So I wanted to share a little bit about the funny part of doing podcasts and growing as you go along. But despite that wasn't that good, in my opinion, I think that I made two very good points in that episode, which I'm going to talk about. It was, I think, the second highest downloaded episode of Cool Culture Corner. I think it was second to or third to a couple of episodes that I did with guests later on. I thankfully added guests, which we will also do here on the Best of Cool Culture Corner very shortly. But it's just interesting. Maybe it was just one of the most downloaded ones because it was one of the earlier ones. Who knows? But ironically, when I tried to grab the file so that I could share snippets of episode 59, the message for our team with you, I couldn't do it, thankfully. Thankfully for you, because while I made some good points, it was a little bit clunky. Maybe clunky as you think that I am here going through some reminiscing about all this. But I appreciate you let me have a little bit of fun with this too. But in episode 59, the message for a team, I made two very important points that really do apply today. One is our employee is our first customer, and two, is this still our message? Asking ourselves that question. So, our employee is our first customer. This is always been important to me. I think it's always been a sign of organizations that really do align their brand culture and strategy very, very well, in that they understand that they need to sell or market's probably a better way of putting it, market directly to their employees to get them jazzed about the organization, about the product, about the campaign, letting them in on exactly what their brand is and how they're promoting it out there in the public, so they can be part of the program and also have motivation for it. If you can't get your employees motivated about what you're selling, what you're promoting, what you're offering to your customers, members, or clients, how long term can you really get your people that you're serving to get excited about it, the people that are going to be buying that service? You can't. It's difficult, not impossible, but really, really difficult. So especially in these times where people are stressed, some people are out of work and hopefully coming back to work now, whether it's in the restaurant industry, other hospitality businesses, or otherwise, and they want to be jazzed about coming back to work. One of the best suggestions I had, and I apologize, I can't remember her name. I do so many podcasts and so many video shows lately, and enjoy every one of them that sometimes they meld into my head. But there was a lady that I interviewed from the restaurant industry that talked about reopening restaurants, and one of the first things that they should do is celebrate with their employees, to be able to say, hey, we're reopening our restaurant, even if it's just at 25 or 50% capacity. Let's get excited about opening up and serving people again and what we can do out there. So I think that that's spot on in terms of treating your employees like your first customer. If your customer is important, which it should be, your employee should be at least as important as that customer. The second point that I made in the message for our team is asking yourself the question, is this still our message? And I think this is even more appropriate now than the first point. I think the first point, in terms of our employees, our first customer, has always been true. In terms of, is our message still the one that we want? I think we need to ask ourselves that question, because so much has changed in this post-pandemic environment. Overnight, the way we do business in many ways has changed. Overnight, the economy has changed. We went from one of the best economies possibly ever to arguably a Great Depression here. Depends on which economist you talk to. But we need to think about, is our tagline, is our messaging, is our brand principle still valid today? Do we need to change that? And I think it's a great opportunity, whether it's in a strategic planning session or if it's just in an all staff meeting talking about our message, our tagline. For instance, in episode 59, I talked about the tagline from Alta One Federal Credit Union in Central California. Over 10 years ago, their tagline was reach new heights, and they did a really nice job first of doing a nice job of making sure that their employee was their first member. They use that phrase, reaching new heights, with the employees and getting them to rally around that idea. Um, I don't believe they use that anymore, which is fine. But if they did, I would encourage them to look at that message and re-embrace it, because I think right now we need to help people reach new heights again, reach new heights like they did before, to reach the heights that they had before the post-pandemic, or at least new heights, maybe even higher heights, if that's even a phrase. But my point is, it's important to look at our brand messaging now, especially if our business has changed. This has certainly been true for restaurants and a lot of hospitality businesses out there. Maybe our message doesn't necessarily need to be, hey, we have the best food you've ever tasted, which is great, by the way, but may also need to be, or be in place of, we're going to provide you with a fun, relaxing, and safe experience when you come into our restaurant. Maybe that's the message for a number of restaurants out there. Who knows? But my point is look at that. Don't just blindly throw out the old brand. For some, may make a lot of sense. All I'm simply saying is look at that message again as you're reopening in this new post-pandemic normal that we have here. So the message for our team, basically think about how our team aligns with our brand culture and strategy, and you're going to be okay, especially in this post-pandemic world. So thanks for spending a little bit of time with me. Thanks for reminiscing on the clunky episode 59. Thank you for indulging me in my message, and in going back on some of these things, as well as looking back and making a little fun of myself. And here's hoping, as always, that you have a cool culture corner at your unique business. Take care.
Now a word from our sponsor, Bader Training and Consulting. BTC is the creator of the B plus C plus S formula. Our clients that implement that formula increase their net income by 124% and grow their business by 17% on average. The best place to start working with Bader Training and Consulting is with our B plus C plus S audit. The service pinpoints issues as well as attributes of your business's unique brand, culture, and strategy. Learn more or sign up for a B plus C plus S audit at www.btcinc.net/BCS-audit.